After 9 o'clock, I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. Feel free to share this out on social media. Let us know what you got going on today. And I'm excited to get this thing started. Here we go. Good morning. It's KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. My name's Gardy. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well, located in beautiful Leak City here in studio. Dr. Chapa, I've seen some stuff on social media. Y'all are moving very soon. Y'all have a new building. What's going on?
Oh, dude, yeah. So Living Well is expanding, and many long months ago, years ago, we were able to acquire a building, and we'll have a new home by the end of the summer. And we're just really excited about the opportunity to take all my, dreams and visions and aspirations to help people live better, be better, and stay better through detoxification, through food, through lifestyle practice, through prayer, through just all kinds of different angles that we as clinicians come to the table with a patient side by side, working on their case, trying to help them solve their medical mystery, help them unravel the disruption that their bodies have gone through over the years, through whether it has been they were over medicated, or they just didn't know better and they don't know what to eat, or just give them tactical tips on how to be the best version of themselves. So we're able to take those ideas down to the new office and then bring out a new layer of relaxation, detoxification, and so we have our Living Well Detox Center available, and we're just really excited about that because I truly believe that people, if you're not detoxing in the 21st century, you're missing a huge piece of your healthcare plan. And so if we can get in people's orbit and help them live better, be better, and stay better, they will see a change in how their body performs. And detoxification is one of those, gots to do it. You got to get involved in it. You've got to learn a little bit about it. So one of the things we'll have is infrared, mid, near, and far technology saunas, where it'll detox molds, it'll detox viruses, it'll detox non-infectious allergens. It'll help the liver perform better. The cell structures of our detox elimination pathways better, to get rid of what it doesn't need or can't get rid of because it's too deep in there. And so that's a cool tool. We'll have our hydro massage beds available for people to get loosened up before an adjustment, or just to check out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It's amazing what just some of these little ideas that we're going to bring to the table. Our foot baths, we're taking that up a notch. They're going to be in we're going to be doing lymphatic work on the back, and while there's a foot bath going on to help break up the trash that's been stockpiled through the weeks of life of what they're doing. And help that stuff get excreted out of the body. So we're just really excited about how to integrate those new ideas into your wellness plans, and it is going to be a phenomenal venture. Our Living Well Event Center, it's going to be able to be a place where we can house our own monthly classes that we're doing, and so we're really excited about how that's going to work, and how to continue the education process that we're after at Living Well, to give people information, insights, so that they can be the best version of themselves in the process and the game of wellness. Because you can't put a price tag on wellness. I mean, an ounce of prevention's worth a
pound of cure.
Mm-hmm. And so when people come in to see us, they have been suffering oftentimes months on end, years on end, and no solution. Now sometimes it's a little bit challenging to pull people out of the mud that they've got themselves buried in. And they have a lot of conditions, a lot of diagnoses. They have a lot of symptom patterns. They have a lot of medications. And so, we have to come in with what I would say, adult expectations. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic cure. There's nothing amazingly magical about what we do at Living Well. We are trench workers. We're going to get in there and dig with you and help you see where glitches are happening. We're going to help you see where the deficiencies are. We're going to help you see which organ systems are malfunctioning, and that is causing your symptom pattern. And everybody has symptom patterns. If you have a symptom today, some symptom right now that you were not genetically born with, then you have a need to come in and let's figure that out. Your body's check engine light is screaming at you. And we know anything that you can develop. So if you develop symptom patterns later in life and you have these things going on lately, then guess what? You can undevelop it. And that's the good news. The good news is that anything your body can develop, it can undevelop. But it is a journey. It is a process. And my team, are willing to get in the trenches with you. They're willing to get in the process and help you navigate the upcoming pitfalls and challenges and hurdles that you're going to have to go around in order to get and regain stability in your health. Because again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So we don't want you to get to a point where you got an oak tree worth of diagnoses, right? We want to catch them at the weed level. And so we're going to pluck as many of those little weeds out and get to some of those bigger trees and those bigger trees and those bigger trees so that we can help, tear down those walls that are keeping you from living your best and being your best. And this new business building venture is going to give us that opportunity. We're going to be still in League City. We're a couple minutes up the road from our current location.
Depending on what time of day it is.
This is true.
Yeah.
But I did...
It's super close.
I did time it at the busiest 518 can be from my current office at 815 East Main Street to the new office 322 East Main Street. It's a 4-minute drive with traffic backed up to the business in front of me. And so it's still, assuming that there's not a railroad, issue, it's really still about a 4 to 5 minute, drive up the road. So it's just exciting. And we got some, definitely follow us on Facebook, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center for the updates, chime in, get excited, be a part of what we're doing because you're worth it. I mean, your health is worth it. Your family believes you're worth it. I mean, we want you to feel energized so that you can give to those that you love. We want you to not have those pounds of symptom patterns that are bogging you down, carrying throughout the day. And we want to unravel the health code so that we can help you feel your best, live your best all the days of your life. It's vitality, it's longevity. And if you're willing to make some change, we can help you. If you're, need to be taught how to change, we can help you. And so when you're willing, when you're able, you are going to maximize the change that's coming.
I think that the sign on 518 is more easy to see, and I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe you've heard of this happening, but people pulling in already, seeing Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center and seeing like, wow, I need something. I need that. Yeah. And just pulling in and thinking that that's where you're located currently, but not yet. And maybe they've driven by the old location, time and time again.
They're wondering, right?
Yeah.
And it is. And ideally, I mean, we just want to be a beacon of light and to the sick world, that there is hope, that you can feel better, to live better. We just do so many cool things that Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center offers clinically with our interactions with our staff to help you feel like you can live your best life. Mm-hmm. And what you do with your choices day in and day out matter. And, so for example, like one of the things I wanted to talk about today on the show was around, sleeping well in order to think well. How many people are out there having trouble falling asleep? They stare at the ceiling and they wonder, I counted 1,000 sheep. I'm not asleep yet. One of my friends reached out to me this morning, and he said, dude, you up? And it's like 5 a.m., And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he calls me, and we chat for a little bit. And he goes, I've been up since, 12 a.m. 45. I am like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And, I mean, it's just like this laundry list of stuff he's gotten done in the last 5 hours. And he goes, I almost called you at 4:30. I'm like, you probably should have, you know what I mean? We could have talked some then too. But, how many people can't fall asleep? I mean, and what is the cost to that? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Do you find yourself tossing and turning during the night? You just never really fully get into that deep sleep state, and you know that you are tossing and turning through the night. And the other side of that is how many times that people watch movie reels in their head. They know they were in bed, but they're having like almost watching fast-paced movies, and some of them can be even nightmares. Some of them can be bad dreams. Some of them can be good dreams. But even in the good dreams, you really there's only two forms of dreaming, in my opinion. God is trying to get a message to you, and there's a legitimate spiritual component to that. And the other is your liver, your kidneys, your detox pathways are not doing what they are supposed to be doing right now. And they are putting you at a detriment. They are putting you in a predicament where you're not going to deepen your levels of sleep cycling. You're not going to hit those 5 to 6 sleep cycles a night. Sleep cycle is about an hour to an hour and a half in duration, and you're just not going to get them. And you need 5 to 6 sleep cycles. We need a minimum of 6 to 7.5 hours of sleep in order to maximize health. And, if you're under that, you're setting yourself up for health challenges in the brain. You're setting yourself up for memory issues, short-term loss, the ability to do fast recall, for high-level processing.
I was going to ask, if you get less than that and it's not, would that have to be consistently? Like, I only got 4 hours, 5 hours.
One night won't kick your butt, right? But here's the thing. This is, a lot of these people, this is chronic.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I've said this many times to my patients, is that when patients come in, if they are night shift workers, so they're constantly day shift, night shift, too often, I would say those folks are my sickest patients. Why? Because their circadian rhythm is so wonky, they're never getting what they need in the restoration cycle of life, which is the sleep. And so, for example, one lady, every time she goes on night shifts, and she's had several different types of jobs, and but they're all shift work. Anytime she is doing shift work, she has palpitations and heart arrhythmias and chest flip-flops and scary stuff. I mean, if you've ever experienced a palpitation or felt the irregularity of your heart going ba-boom, ba-boom, when it should go lub-dub, it is a terrifying feeling. And when she's had day jobs where she was just on a day shift, Monday through Friday, Tuesday through Saturday type things, she didn't have the problem. Her body was able to catch up to the circadian rhythm and find a routine, and the body's very patterned and routined. And it's whenever, she shifts over that bad things start happening. And we find that we have to change her supplement regime and her lifestyle practices all the more, because with that change brings a new demand on the body nutritionally. And when there's nutritional deficiencies, you are setting your organs up for failure. Not failure in the oh my gosh, redlining, but you set them up for dysfunction. Dysfunction leads to symptoms, such as, in this case, the palpitations. How many people are experiencing waking up in the middle of the night and just lay there, stare at the ceiling? They're just like, well, not really dreaming, but everybody seems to be sleeping peacefully in this house. However,
and it's not time to wake up.
Yeah, it's like 2:30. It's 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
And what do you do with that? So we're going to hit that a little bit. And then, how about waking up in the middle of the night, 3 and 4 times a night to go pee? That's not normal for people, Dr. Chapa? No. Your dogs, you expect them to make it through the night. And, depending on the size of your bed, your spouse probably, depends on you to make it through the night, because they're probably light sleepers. And that's another symptom. I mean, if you call yourself, I'm just a light sleeper, right? The breeze could blow too hard outside, and I'm waking up. I can hear a crickly crack from a mouse across the house, and that wakes me up. You're not getting deep levels of restoration through your sleep cycles.
Mm-hmm. What about sleeping hot or sleeping cold?
Good call.
I've heard people just like, well, I have to have the fan on, I just got hot, or like, hey, I got to take the blankets off. It's either way, right? Is that a sign of anything?
Correct. Ouch. When a person is unable to go to bed and sleep relatively in a cool state because their body's night sweating or hot flashing or changing their sheets because they are literally profusely sweating. I mean, this happens. That is an indication for sure that there is dysfunction in the way the body is processing chemicals, toxins, detoxification through the night. So we want to find, where is that glitch? Is it in the liver? Is it something tied up in the lymphatics? I mean, why is the body pouring toxins out of the skin during the night, feeling so hot whenever you should be, in a very deep, cool state? So, whenever we do basal metabolic checks and look at people's temps, we look at that temperature during, the early morning, and I say early morning, like 10 a.m. On out to 5. It's very normal, and you should be about 98.5 degrees. That's a sign of a good, healthy, strong thyroid. Metabolically, everything's doing what it's supposed to. And then in the evening, it's okay if it drops to like a high 97.8 or 98.0, 98.1, because that is your system is coming in for a landing. You are not as metabolically thyroid-driven during the night hours. That's your diesel engine taking a rest stop. But other systems are more prioritized during those hours and at nighttime. And so if you wake up hot, sweaty, night sweats, hot sweats, changing your sheets, profusely sweating, that is an indication of sleep dysfunction, of a dysfunction in the body that needs to be addressed, and it can be. That's the good news. Isn't that good news?
That's great news.
But right now, so like when we look at sleep, a few stats that we have. This is from a book called The Sleep Revolution. And again, we're talking about sleeping well, thinking well in the 21st century, because the world is moving around us very fast. So in the 1970s, for example, there was about 3 sleep centers in the U.S., the entire United States of America.
What's a sleep center?
A sleep center would be a place where you would go and they would monitor, run studies and testing on your sleep during a night. Mm-hmm. Today, take a guess at how many we have accredited across the country.
Well, I'm going to say that there's probably like 100 just in Galveston County that I've driven by. That's my guess right there.
Yeah, so that might be absolutely accurate. Yeah. So now multiply that out. So like it's 2,500, and then I think this is an old stat too, and so I bet you it's even closer to 5,000. Mm-hmm. Sleep is a very, very important piece of your healthcare plan. And it may be as simple as a mineral deficiency that you have. It may be an organ that needs to be supported, at dinner time and bedtime in order to maximize the liver's efficiency through the night. So, recognizing that there's things you can do, now we got to figure out, what do you do? Like, where do we go from here? Drowsy drivers are involved in over 330,000 accidents per year. I mean, whoa. I thought it was just drunk driving, Dr. Chapa. I thought it was texting and driving. We're just drowsy.
I think I've seen that maybe even like drowsy is worse than drunk, or the equivalent of being intoxicated. Yeah,
absolutely true. And so in kids, sleep deprivation can cause them to become hyperactive and can lead to diagnoses like ADD, ADHD. Well, how much of hyperactivity? I even saw a new one, defiant disassociation disorder or something like that, DDD or DDD, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's even escalating past just a hyperactive or attention deficit. Now it's defiance. What? So there always is a progression. There's always going to be a worse version of the previous. So it doesn't mean that ADD doesn't exist and attention deficit doesn't or hyperactivity doesn't exist, but if that is not addressed as an early on check engine light, then it can progress to the next phase, which is now you have anger, frustration, agitation, and defiance manifesting as well. Try to parent that. And now we have to ask the question, is it because they lack a good spanking? No, they might just need a good night of sleep. And what is keeping them up through the night? What are they doing? Maybe they're on their cell phones. Maybe their room is not set up appropriately for sleep. Maybe there's some things that you can do to help, maximize their going to bed at a reasonable time and supplementing them in order to fall asleep in a healthy way. Because if you're up thinking and it's bedtime and you can't close those eyes and you can't shut it off and your brain is just racing with thoughts and ideas, or you tossing and turning because you got achies in the legs, guess what? That is a sign that your body is deficient in moving the body out of a process into a process. The body is always moving out of a process and into a process. And in that transition, there is a boatload of nutrients, B vitamins, minerals, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, salts, in order to maximize that transition state, to make sure that those cells pass the baton to the next organ system that needs to run efficiently. So, this is very interesting to see what is happening in our kids today. Chemically induced sleep may limit restorative slow wave sleep. Well, what does that mean? Okay, that means that if you're taking sleep aids, it's very likely that even though you might be sleeping, you are minimizing the depth or the cycling of the sleep cycle's ability to complete themselves. Therefore, you're not hitting those sleep cycles that you need for full recovery, for full restoration. And so, what do we do with that? I mean, these are, again, all these are things that people are dealing with. There's studies being done on this stuff, and curiosity, has been created these studies because enough people are suffering, and yet they're missing looking at the nutrient component, the organ associated in the Chinese medicine clock. And 2015 Consumer Report found that Ambien and Lunesta put people to sleep about 20 minutes faster, but added three, Gardy, to 34 minutes of total quality of sleep. Well, I mean, is it worth toxifying your body with drugs for 3 to 34 extra minutes of sleep? Some of you might be, you should have seen what I did last night. Like my buddy who, was up for 5 hours, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he had probably taken an extra 34 minutes. But what if that 34 extra minutes cost you in the long time? So now an ounce of prevention, you're actually an ounce of toxicity is exponentially compounding a health problem to come. Because we never know when we do prevention what we're preventing. Right?
Right.
That's the thing about alternative medicine. That's the thing about what I do is in some respects, you come in with a symptom and we address it and you feel better. But I'm interested in the intangible, what you can't grasp hold of, which is a high level quality of health that will allow you to expand your thinking, that will allow you to blow the capacity off of your personal limitations and to keep doing what God has put you on this planet to do in a way that is fruitful so that you're not being deceived, distracted, or just burning out. I wonder how many people today are just flat out burned out trying to figure out what's going on in the world today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So let's see. Sleep defines in the sleep revolution, she defines the fatigue as nature's way of telling you've done enough. Well, I might actually, change that a little bit. I think tired is a sign that you've put a good day's work in. A day's work is enough. See, tiredness is your ability to just have worn yourself out. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much expectation for you to do in a day. But fatigue is not restored with a good night of sleep. You're stuck fatigued the next day. You're compounding fatigue the next day. You're exponentially fatigued the next day. You're burned out the next day. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, fatigue is a different animal. And maybe I'm, chopping up tomato. Maybe it's semantics. I don't know. But I like to look at it like I'm tired, between 8:30 and 9:30. Well, it's dark outside, and I've worked my cahoots off all day. So I wonder if maybe I just need to go to bed, and I should wake up feeling better tomorrow morning than when I went to bed. So if you go to bed and you wake up worse in the morning than when you went to bed, what is that a sign of? Dysfunction. that is a sign of inefficiency. The body did not restore you. So tired is relieved with rest, fatigue is not. And so I might actually disagree in this case of her definition, but that's okay. What about high schoolers? Each hour of extra sleep is associated with a 10% drop in binge drinking. That's in a high school. High schoolers shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
What in the world? I'm always fascinated with stats and stuff like that, But high schoolers, each hour of extra sleep they get is associated with 10% drop in binge drinking. Well, how many high schoolers do you know want to go to bed?
They don't. They want to stay up and hang out and text and be with friends, right?
Exactly. And so we're seeing possibly a trend or a pattern that is actually driving people to alcohol or drugs that could have been alleviated because they just had better sleep. So again, going back to the drowsy drivers and 330,000, car accidents, well, maybe, 1 hour of lack of sleep is leading people faster, multiplication-wise, exponentially-wise, towards investigating, drugs or alcohol because their judgment is impaired. Well, you're in your sleep deprived. Like you said, you saw a study that drowsy driving is equivalent, if not possibly worse than drinking and driving, right? Well, I wonder if it's going to impair your driving. What if it impairs your common sense meter? What if it impairs your good judgment meter, your relationship meter, your financial meter, your health choice meter? I mean, it doesn't just have to be sleep. This is just a sleep study, but doesn't it apply to all aspects of function and other areas of our life? Of course it does. Of course. I love that. Of course. So, sleep plays a crucial role in the emotional processing speed, how we're able to handle stuff. When people throw, how many times you met people that drop emotional garbage on you?
Every day.
And you're like, really? I mean, does that was that necessary? Trash day was yesterday, and I'm getting it today. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, how you're able to handle that and not get frustrated, not get agitated, not get angry, not hold a grudge, and just let it be water off your back, I think plays an important role in your sleep, depth, your sleep quality, what your restoration pattern looks like statistically with sleep. And if your sleep is limited, then you're not restoring, regenerating, detoxifying in a way that allows you to manage tomorrow's crazy. And therefore, time and time again, this goes on week after week and month after month. It's just a matter of time before you just are human and your human elements come out and you flip out on somebody. Your flesh gets a hold of you. You know what I mean? And so, hey, at the end of the day, I think that this idea of sleep might be an important thing. Do you think we've kind of covered that so far?
I agree, yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's jump into some ideas around things we can do, okay? So when I look at sleep, I want to find out, which one of these areas is their crucial issue. So if they have trouble falling asleep, or they're tossing and turning during the night, or they have a little bit of restless legs when they crawl into bed, and it doesn't really fit inside of their, hey, I was fine 25 minutes ago. Why are my legs cramping right now? You know what I mean? The body's process is shifting. The baton is passing to the sleep, manager and the detox manager. And that indication that you're having cramps or your mind starts getting restless and racing out of control and you can't slow it down and you can't fall asleep, typically is a mineral, calcium magnesium glitch. You need calcium lactate. You need our calcium magnesium powder if you're a child. Not even a child. I mean, I do it as an adult. But a lot of times it's not even much, dude. It's like a quarter teaspoon of the powder, 2 tablets of the calcium lactate. And all of a sudden, you're able to go to sleep very quickly. That agitation, restlessness in your legs begins to dissipate within 10 minutes. And you're like, how does that work? Well, when you put nutrients into the body that you're deficient in, and that baton got dropped, you're going to have a symptom. If I can prevent that baton getting dropped, you're going to see an improvement in how the body runs the cycle. And I have calcium magnesium powder on my nightstand. Kinley, my daughter, 15, going on 16 soon.
That's crazy, Dr. Chapa.
I know. I don't like it either. But
you don't even look 16.
That's true. She has Mintran on her nightstand. And Mintran's a step up from calcium lactate. It's a little bit, what I would call a stronger mineral base. And what is a child doing? Why would a child need a little bit more than maybe I do? Well, maybe she's growing. So now her body is growing and developing. Hormonally, her bones are getting harder or maturing. They're elongating. Maybe that compounded with her hormones. Maybe that compounded with her diet, her lack of water. If she's listening, drink more water. I love you. But Mintran seems to be something that is on her nightstand and that she knows is a home run hitter. That'll help rest her mind whenever she is racing in thought and thinking and seems to, at 20 minutes in, can't stop the reel, right? So Mintran is a home run at that point. Now, it also might be I got to get her just to turn the dang phone off and she'd fall right asleep. But, that's the answer to a different question. So we keep on trucking. So in her case, that's an easy try. So we use calcium lactate, calcium magnesium powder, and or Mintran to help people's brain cool off so that the body can go to sleep. So you kind of jump back into that idea of when you brought up the night sweats, the hot flashes, the profuse sweating during the night. Guess what? Maybe at this point, you could do the same idea. You put calcium lactate, calcium magnesium powder, or some Mintran in there, and you're deficient in calcium magnesium, and then all of a sudden, your body is not running as hot. How does that work? I look at minerals as like a flame retardant. I look at minerals that cool the body. They're very cooling. So we can actually cool the body down using God's tranquilizers, minerals. Certain minerals like calcium, like magnesium, are very cooling and tranquilizing. Now, you're thinking, well, I wouldn't want that in the daytime. Why did he put me on, one of those products in the daytime? Because you're so stressed out that your ability to come in for a smooth nighttime landing starts at 8 a.m. at breakfast. And how about that? What a cool concept. You mean you help people sleep better by changing what goes on at breakfast? Absolutely. So the better we understand the story, now we will start, supplementing at bedtime. We'll back it up to dinner bedtime. We'll back it up to lunch, dinner bedtime. We'll back it up to breakfast, lunch, bedtime, right? So it doesn't start at this big, heavy, try to pull them down out of the stratosphere because we never really know where they're at in the in their cortisol curve, their adrenal stress. Like how ramped up are they? People always are underestimating how much they are stressed out. Some of them are overreacting to how much they are stressed out. So, some of them are a little easier than others, but nobody has I need exactly this much coral and I need this much calcium, magnesium in order to sleep better through the night. It doesn't,
right.
They don't come in with that as a phraseology. I hate to say they don't actually know what's going on, but so minerals will simply put you to sleep, rest that racing mind. They will cool you down so that you can get into a comfortable space. They will chill out your muscles so that those muscles aren't agitated and bouncing around like crazy. I think that's cool. I think that is like so fascinating even today to know that there's a tool that will do that. Okay? So now we've talked about waking up or not able to fall asleep. We've talked about being hot during the night and just simply minerals and mineral tranquilizers to help you cool your jets and get into that deep sleep state. What about waking up during the night to stare at the ceiling? You're just kind of like, this isn't good. What does that indicate? Where do we go from there? Well, that could be adrenal glitches. That could be the adrenal glands. That could be pushing out too much cortisol because your blood sugar dropped. Your blood sugar drops, and your adrenal gland's job is to balance out your sugars, but unfortunately, in a world where we're already overstressed and played up, we will see a lift in the sugar too high, and that's what wakes you up. And now it's taking some time for that sugar to dissipate off the blood, and so you got too much energy at 3 a.m. You got too much energy at 1 a.m., and you can't figure out how to shut it off. Well, in that moment, we got to go look at what are you eating through the day. So this is where Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center shines. Boy, I like that was a tongue twister for me.
Yeah.
And when we look at food as medicine, we know that you're not going to be perfect. We don't need you to be, but we might need you to be willing to change this, that, or the other when it comes to diet. What are you eating for breakfast? What are you not eating for breakfast? I had a guy come into me yesterday, and he goes, "Well, I want to lose weight, but I don't really want to eat." He goes, "I only want to eat in the intermittent fasting zone, and these are the results that I want." And the results that he wanted were reachable and attainable, but not with the plan that he has built for himself. So we had to re-educate around, all right, if you want to get from 215 down to 180, it's possible, but it's 35-pound drop. That ain't going to just happen through intermittent fasting. And one of my biggest pet peeves with intermittent fasting is people think that means they starve themselves. They don't understand. You still got to get your 2,000 calories in an 8-hour window. Mm-hmm. Sorry, this idea that you can starve yourself to death and not eat enough calories in that 8-hour span, 10-hour span, 12-hour span, whatever your cup of tea is a falsity. Oh, it's okay, I put fat in my coffee. Oh, okay. I'm glad you put the fat in there, but now you're jacking your adrenals all up. One of my staff, Renee, just read this book called, Caffeine Blues. And it is a 400-page book on how caffeine screws up your hormones, how caffeine screws up your stress management, how caffeine robs your body of minerals, how caffeine is related to darn near every diagnosis in the book. And so now I'm just jacking you up on butter and collagen and coffee. Well, that's exciting, I think. I would love to not eat and get results, but at the end of the day, we're human. We're mammals. We must eat food, fuel. Now, you might be going, but it worked for me, Dr. Chapa. Absolutely. And do you know why? Because you probably had 50 pounds to lose. You probably had 25 pounds to lose.
And we're probably eating too much.
You were overeating.
Mm-hmm.
And so by cutting the calories back, your body was forced to tap into some of its reserve. And so it worked. But so now, where do you go whenever you're kind of at a good weight, but you want to nudge it down another 20, that last 10, look, when I shredded down from 167 to 145 in the last couple of years, I'm 162 right now. I'm going to tell you that, to shred down, that last 5 pounds from 145 to 150, that zone was not easy. It was a lot of work.
Not on accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, just intermittent fasting and
it ain't gonna get it
butter
done.
in a coffee.
Yeah, won't happen.
No.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just we have to re-educate people that food is still a paramount part of your daily intake, and that's going to help you in helping keep that blood sugar stable. Again, we're talking about waking up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling and wondering why, right? So let's stay on topic. But blood sugar is a big part of it. So if your blood sugar is waxing and waning all day long, up, down, like a roller coaster, well, that puts stress on your hormones. That puts stress on your adrenal glands. That puts stress on your body's processing. And so that baton passing, now your body processes are drowsy and dropping the ball or the baton, right?
Yes.
And so there's glitches that are happening, and blood sugar is actually going too high and keeping you alert in the middle of the night when you should be, passing out. So what do we do with that? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think that the goal of what we're trying to accomplish is to help people recognize that if your sleep isn't deep, if your sleep isn't complete, if your sleep isn't restorative, then you have some work to do, and we at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center can help you. We would love to help you. You can always give us a call at 281-554-8600. You can visit our website at justlivewell.com and get some of insight on how to get started with a nutrition plan. And we'll go through all this stuff, and we'll kind of help find your priority buttons, and we'll see if we can get you on the track back to good health. And, so if you, going back to, let's see, one of these other ones that we talked about tossing and turning, that was minerals, trouble falling asleep, that was minerals. Ever experienced waking up in the middle of the night and just staring at the ceiling? We just talked about blood sugar and adrenals. That's my favorite. Waking up in the middle of the night to pee. Well,
was that just because they drink as much water as you?
Maybe. Sometimes it happens, by the way. I have been known to overconsume, and there is an overconsumption place, I believe. And I have to be mindful because it's very easy for me to clear a gallon of water a day at a minimum. I can, knock out 2 of these jugs a day. And as good as that might sound, oh, look at you. Well, what if I only need 96 ounces? I'm 162 pounds, so 1 liter per 50 pounds of body weight puts me somewhere around 96 to 105 ounces of water a day. If I'm at a gallon, okay, I rationalize that because I trained this morning. Well, but what if? What if me waking up at night to pee means that I am over-consuming something good? I mean, so many times people come in and tell me, if I drink Coke all day or Diet Coke or whatever, I don't pee at all. But the minute I put a glass of water in, I'm peeing like a racehorse. What's up with that? And I'm like, oh, well, that means that your water is detoxifying you and the sodas are poisoning you. So be mindful. Just because your body can't get rid of it doesn't mean that, and you not peeing is a good thing. You've got to get rid of these toxins. But if you're waking up at night to pee, typically it's because the liver is calling on the kidneys saying, hey, kidneys, I'm sorry to bother you again for the 3rd time, 4th time, but I can't get my job done this evening, and I'm going to need a little bit of help. Well, I guess I should say this morning because they're most active. Your liver is most active between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. And the kidneys get this wake-up call, and they're a little bit, agitated and disgruntled, just like if I called you right now and woke you up at 1:30 in the morning. You probably would be a little bit bent. Why are you calling me so late? Where's the fire? What's the emergency? Oh, I just wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or, hey, can you do me a simple favor? And now they're waking up to pee, and they're detoxing for you. They're draining off some of the extra, the waste, the sediment that the liver was unable to process accordingly. So it gets flushed out through the kidneys. You go back to bed. You're able to fall right back to sleep. You're all good. And then, boom, hour and a half, 2 hours later, you're up again. What in Tar Heels is going on? That is a sign that the liver isn't keeping up with the workload. And where could that be coming in? Well, heck, that could be infection. That could be too much sugar. That could be too many chemicals and metals floating around in your bloodstream because you're breathing bad air. You're putting in toxins through your airways. You're putting in toxins on your skin. You're putting toxins in your hair. You're putting toxins through your makeup on your face. I mean, there's so many avenues for chemicals and metals to be flooding into the body, stressing out our detox and our exit strategy channels. And so I think that at the end of the day, if we take the time, it brings us full circle back to if you're not detoxing. When you ask me about the new office and some of the new cool stuff we're going to have, we're going to help your body's detox better. The better your body detoxes, the more efficient your body becomes in getting rid of what it can't normally get rid of because it doesn't have the nutrient base or the organ isn't firing like it's supposed to on all 8 cylinders. Now we're getting to the root of the issue. We're getting those burdens out of the body. We're crowbarring those things up and out in order to help your body get into a sleep state, stay in a sleep state, and not, in this case, wake up at night to pee. And you theoretically should be able to drink a 12-ounce glass, 8-ounce glass of water before bed and be okay. And if you can't, it just means that the liver is not able to keep up again with the workload. And your check engine light is manifesting through the urination at night, as opposed to your neighbor who is sweaty, as opposed to their neighbor who's having wicked, wild, bizarre, funky, exotic dreams. And to that end, if you are having wicked, wild, bizarre, funky, exotic dreams, now how come that didn't tongue twist me? But that other thing did. Oh, well. The wicked, wild, bizarre, funky, exotic dreams is an indicator that the liver, again, is allowing toxins to seep back into the bloodstream and not get processed accordingly. And your mind is actually seeing those toxins, and it's disrupting synaptic activity in the brain, and you're not able to get into a deep sleep. So you're literally seeing your brain try to file away yesterday's data or 2 weeks ago data.
So I just got a text from your office, and they're saying, hey, I hope he has time to answer some questions. And I was like, I haven't been seeing any questions. I thought everyone's been radio silent. I've actually had to relaunch my feed, and now I have seen that there are some questions.
Let's answer some questions. We have, a few more minutes, and let's do that.
Okay, let me see.
We've been talking about sleep. We've been talking about all kinds of aspects of sleep, staying asleep, tossing and turning during the night, waking up staring at the ceiling, sweaty during the night, dreams, nightmares, peeing at night, all kinds of things. So we're talking about improving the quality of sleep so that your brain, your body works better. So let's hit some of these questions.
And I will say, because it didn't load everything, if you asked one, feel free to ask again.
Yeah, technology is what it is, right? It is only cool when it works. But, yeah, please.
And right now I see no questions. I do see some comments in there, but not any that is actually a question. But apparently there has been a lot of questions. And
darn it, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she can just text you some of the questions through screenshot or something. Yeah, if she's got a chance to do that, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry about that, guys. Normally we on our live show, in our live stream, we love answering questions for you guys. And what I will do is I'm going to send this over to my one of my staff members and see if they can post it up there. And maybe the answer will be in this little document I'm going to give you all today. It's called Sleep Secrets that we use here at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. Okay. But go ahead. Okay,
we have one now. We have this question. It says, what do you think about sleep paralysis? And that's pretty interesting because I've experienced it one time in my entire life, and it's really scared me.
Take me through it more. What is
sleep paralysis? It's where you wake up and you can't move. There's nothing. Your eyes open, it's awake, and your body literally will not move. I've had that happen one time to me.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna go into the realm there. That's gonna be adrenal overload. You're probably pushing what we call adrenal fatigue syndrome at that point. And one of the things as a test that I would do to try to confirm that is I would have you do during the day, not during that moment at night, hence why you can't get up, you're paralyzed. I would have you in the morning and again at night, the following day, I would have you, one, just assess your stress. How much stress have you been under? Oh, man, I've got deadline after deadline after deadline. I'm short-fused. I'm got all these symptoms around my emotions. Everything seems to make me mad, even when my little girl wants to give me a kiss. I mean, whatever, things that shouldn't. Then you would lie down, wait 5 minutes, take your blood pressure with one of those little machines. I know it might not be exactly perfect, but for the sake of, consistency, then I want you to stand up and take it again. And I want you to catch the systolic, diastolic, and pulse pressures. If those pulse pressures don't do what they're supposed to do, that is an indicator that the adrenals are stressed, and you should get a 8 to 10 point rise in your systolic, diastolic, and pulse rate going from lying to standing. That could be an indicator that the adrenal glands are weak. So yeah, that would be, I would first and foremost think there is an adrenal component to that out at the gate. Now, could it be a layer of toxicity? Maybe you also are dealing with a lot of GI struggle and trouble, and you have been diagnosed with, or you suspect you have irritable bowel, leaky gut, some sort of colitis, and your gut is really wrecked. Therein lies a different issue that could be causing it, where metals and chemicals are actually crossing over into the brain during the nighttime cycle because they're circulating, trying to get out, but they get accidentally rogue and they get into, closets and areas of the body that they're not supposed to be. And they're sitting on a receptor that would be for your normal motor function. That would be disruptive to your ability to move. So that's a possibility. And I mean, if that is happening, I would definitely say we're going to run some blood work. We're going to see what those liver enzymes look like. We're going to see what your thyroid looks like. We're going to see what your electrolytes look like. We're going to see what the calcium, magnesium, phosphorus ratios look like, and make sure that things are running accordingly through the day, or in that snapshot in that blood. We're going to look at it through what we call the living well eye, and we're going to see patterns of dysfunction that most doctors will never see because they're only looking for pathology.
Here's another question. This comes from Jeanette. She said, is melatonin okay for kids? 9-year-old has issues drifting off to sleep.
Yeah, so 9-year-olds should definitely not need melatonin. There's been studies around 30s, 40s, and 50s year-old humans that could benefit from melatonin in some respect. And I think maybe there could be a time and a place. But you should never need a neurotransmitter, brain chemical, any aid that kind of does what the body's supposed to do on its own for the body through an application from the outside. You should always be asking the body, hey, will you do this job for me? Hey, if I give you these nutrients, can you get this done? And that allows the brain to produce adequate amounts of melatonin. But typically, when melatonin and cortisol are in opposite, indirect proportion, and your cortisol's too high, the melatonin's too low. Therefore, you have to supplement. But I would then back up to some of what we talked about earlier and say, let's look at the diet of that kid, because, they're going through hormonal change. They're going through bone elongation. They're going to have mineral deficiency. They're going to have some hormonal, axis upregulation that we got to fix. We've got to look and make sure that their diet's not full of nothing but stimulants and inflammatory food in order to maximize their cooling mechanism so that their body's able to do the jobs that it is called to do day in, day out. So in that case, I would be looking at a better alternative of melatonin in, people under 30.
Here's one from Carla. She says, will Mintran work for waking up?
Like they can't wake up in the morning?
I believe so.
Okay. So if you have a hard time waking up in the morning, I kind of lump that into the same idea as you go to bed and you're more tired in the morning than when you went to bed. And so that's going to be back in the liver department. You would be better off doing something like AF beta food, liver force, SP cleanse, something like that, 5 o'clock p.m. and then bedtime in order to hit that liver, help it out, and see if you don't notice you start waking up in the morning. And, of course, there's some things I would have that person start doing throughout the day, but we'd have to talk about that, at an office visit in order to kind of dig deeper because there is some other, they're just complicated, and I don't have enough time on the radio to talk about it.
Yeah.
But for sure, if I was just throwing darts like we like to do, to give people some ideas to play with, because again, when you're asking the body to do a job, and when I say asking, I'm all right. Here's this SP cleanse. Here's this liver force. Here's this A beta food. If I ask the body to take these nutrients and go run a process, and you take that and you see that process unfold beautifully, and you don't need the extra, tender love and care, hey, that's great. Works for you. Don't stop it. But again, there's typically more towards that issue of waking up in the morning, and it could be, how there's other questions. I mean, maybe they're dreaming, maybe they're tossing and turning, maybe they're the light sleeper, and we've kind of addressed some of those things. And if we can help people get to a point where they are not dealing with some of those depths of sleep so that they get the restoration to catch up, you can catch up on your sleep, and you should start waking up feeling more vibrant. So when I put people through detox, our ultimate detox program, I oftentimes see day 10, day 15, their sleep turns around. They go, I haven't slept this good in 25 years. What is going on? I just cleaned up and maximized your liver efficiency. That's what the detox is doing. And the liver then is able to not be so burdened, and you're not pulling up dead weight in the morning. You're actually just popping out of bed like a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed bunny, and off you go down the road. Isn't that good news?
Yes. Here's one last question. They ask, do you believe the first stage of cancer can be cured by just eating healthy?
First stage of cancer could be cured. Well, number one, I'll be just kind of throw it out there. I don't really use words like treat or cure or diagnose because we don't look at symptoms when people come in. Oh, I got colon cancer, or I've got breast cancer, or I got a lymphoma or something. We look at humans, and so first and foremost, when we're looking at all life, and y'all have heard me say this before, and if this is your first time on the show, thank you for this question. But all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition drives it onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, or it spirals it off into disease land for sure. So yes, I think that you can maximize the body's ability to defend against disease very easily by putting less inflammatory foods in, less of the 4 deadly food additives, better quality ingredients in the choices that you make day in and day out. And I think that at the end of the day, that you're going to live a more robust, vibrant, disease-free life. Now, just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean you're never going to have a symptom. I mean, it just doesn't seem to work that way. Because at the end of the day, a lot of you guys are coming in to this for the first time, or maybe you've kind of like doing dabbling it a little bit here and there for the last couple of years. Maybe you've been diligent in the last 10, but you just haven't been incorporating enough of the ideas. So you're still feeding disease more than you're not. But you've got some kind of foundation. You've got to recognize that there was a season in your past where you were actually setting yourself up for advanced diseases in your youth, over medication on antibiotics. The number one feeder of a ruiner of health is antibiotics. It just destroys the gut. It's like dropping an atomic bomb. Nothing lives therefore after. And it could take up to, in some cases, 6 months to do a complete restorative change on the body. Now, that's me being a little bit, I'm casting a vision. I could be wrong. It could take you 5 years because of how many antibiotics you've been on. It could be 17 years because of how many antibiotics and steroids that you've been on. And so food is medicine. And when you grab hold of that and you look at your life and you go, all right, I want my life to look like this at the end. And is this choice that I'm about to make going to support my vision of what I want? So I like to ask these types of questions. What is it that you want? And what is your why to get what you want? And is your why big enough to say, to respond to the right choice, respond with the right choice when presented with an opportunity of pleasure over your long-term vision? Oh, Dr. Chapa, don't be so hard on us. We want to, have our cake and eat it too. And I said it in the beginning, we're not expecting to be perfect. We know you're going to cheat. It's not realistic that you won't. But if we can get you the 70 7 steps forward, 3 steps back model, you're still moving forward a net gain of 4. That means you make 70% of your choices throughout your day better choices. Those 30%, they're going to knock me on my butt a little bit, but at least I'm 4 steps forward today. What if you can apply that for the week? So you plan out, I got a birthday party this weekend. I got a wedding this weekend. I got this or that. Okay, so what am I going to do up to the weekend before that party to be ready to indulge in that piece of cake or to indulge in that, whatever? So knowing that if you kind of strategize your week and you're not living hour by hour, minute by minute, and we're all guilty of this, by the way. I'm not perfect at this by any stretch. I've fallen face first plenty of times and going, well, there's a life lesson, But as long as your why more oftentimes is bigger than the pleasure, you have a vision of what you want clearly, of how your life looks at the end. I want to be fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, 125 years old. Well, how do you? Nobody in your family's lived that long. Okay, I'm going to be the first. You got to change perspective, and then you got to start living accordingly today. I can't start planning to live to be 125, fully functional in spirit, mind, and body at 90. That'd be like hoping that in a 10-year span of time that I could, retire if I've never played the appropriate financial game, whatever that is to get you to that end goal. And again, we're all guilty of these things, right? We all have we're all like, a little bit hypocritical at some level, right? But if we can be hypocritical 30% of the time and 70% of the time honest with ourselves, I still think that you're going to move forward and not feel so restricted that you can't have a lot of your game plan vision and the end. And I think there's good news there. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And so at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, I know we're coming to the end today, and we talked about a lot of cool stuff with regard to sleep. How are you sleeping? Are you more tired in the morning when you went to bed? Are you waking up in the middle of the night staring at the ceiling? Are you tossing and turning? Are you peeing all night long and wondering why? Are you unable to fall asleep? Well, we answered a lot of those questions today, I think, and we're going to, post our Sleep Secrets handout. That'll be a useful tool for many of you, but we encourage you, to come in, be a patient. Let us help you at Living Well. Let us be on your dream team, and we just pray that your day is blessed, your week is blessed, and we can't wait to see you next week.
This is KHEA Radio 99.